All right, we're live. Live. Hello, YouTube. We're back for another board game impressions review video. We aren't board game experts or anything like that. We're kind of just three people that have started getting into board games and want to give kind of our casual opinions on them. I'm Adrian. It's Cody right there. This mean-looking MFer. And then Rick over here. So, we just played Nyctophobia. Hopefully, by now I've got some clips of the game playing in front of you.
Nyctophobia the Hunted is an asymmetrical one versus many horror game that tasks a team of hunted players with navigating blindly around a dark forest trying to find a car to escape. Meanwhile, a hunter tries to catch and kill the hunted players before they do. During setup, the hunter steps aside and designs a secret forest layout, which will include trees, which block movement in their direction, and rocks, which can be thrown by the hunted players to attack or create noise. The hunted players must wear the black glasses that come with the game, which are opaque and prevent the hunted from seeing the board. The hunted players also may choose a specific type of survivor to play with additional benefits explained on their character cards, such as the track star, who gets to move in extra space when either sprinting or retreating. The hunter, however, gets to choose between the axe murderer, whose cards tend to grant him additional moves per turn, or the mage, whose Blair Witch style gameplay tends to grant her the power to confuse the players by shifting the board layout or by teleporting them. The hunted will use their sense of touch to move around the board, navigating around trees in the border of the map, communicating with each other as they go and search for the car. Once the car is found, the hunters win the game after one additional round of play elapses as the hunted radio for help. Because the hunted cannot see, the hunter must place their fingers on their character pieces to start their turn. The hunter is also encouraged to taunt, distract, or even assist the hunted players in order to facilitate a fun game. On their turn, the hunted may feel around their character piece one space in any non-diagonal direction using their finger, communicating to their team what they find. After searching, the hunted moves twice and may feel again after each move. The hunted may also take one of three actions at the end of their turn. They may sprint one additional space, hide and be invisible to the hunter and silent to their team, or throw a rock which will travel in one direction and create a sound where it lands, which may distract the hunter. If another player is hit by the rock, they take a damage, whereas the hunter is knocked back 2 spaces and slowed for 1 turn. Meanwhile, the hunter draws 2 cards each turn which provide them with options for how they may proceed, such as moving in a certain direction or taunting the other players. Noise tokens on the board generally distract the hunter, but certain cards may allow the hunter to disregard the noise, disregard when a player is hiding, or other special conditions that override the normal rules of play. If the hunter ever winds up adjacent to a hunted player without trees between during anyone's turn, combat begins and the hunted player is automatically wounded, meaning they lose one of their 2 heart health pieces. The hunted player may then throw a rock as a counterattack for the same effects as mentioned before, and then afterward may retreat 1 or 2 spaces and hide. If any hunted player loses their second heart piece, they die and the hunter wins the game.
And we just finished our 4th playthrough, I guess. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
So you were the killer the first 3 times.
Yeah.
I was the killer on the last game, the last game we just finished. So, all right, let's start at the beginning, right? What do you guys think of the design of the game, the look of the game, presentation overall?
I'll go first. I think the presentation, it's not much to look at, but it doesn't need to be anything exquisite because most of the players are going to be playing with their eyes closed anyway, not even looking at the board. So it's all about your other senses, like particularly your sense of touch and speech, talking with your teammates. So the board itself, the layout, the design doesn't need to be anything fancy, just enough to know where you're at and know where you're going.
Towards you, there were 2 open spots.
Okay. Which way did you move? Towards Rick?
I didn't move it.
Oh.
There's 1 open spot in front of me towards Rick, but then there's a tree.
Okay.
Which way did you move? You moved.
I moved
to the left.
Left 1, and then I moved up 2, and then left towards you again.
Well, first of all, I'd say, probably should start with the premise, but,
Go ahead, Cody. Please correct us.
Well, yeah, as Rick said, it's a game where the How many people can play this game?
I think it's 4.
Five,
We
I'd
played
say
with 3.
5,
Is it 5?
like 3 to 5.
Okay.
See, this is. So however many people aren't the killer, they aren't going to be seeing. So, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, you're close. So you're 1 space from the edge?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 1 space open above me, and then it's the edge. So I'm the corner towards Rick.
Wow. Okay.
I can't. Oh, oops. That tree. It just needs to be tactile. It's pretty simplistic. Doesn't look great, but
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. So I mean, it's whatever. It's fine.
On that note, I will say that the game is going for sort of like a Pulp Fiction kind of art style, like it's like maybe sort of like it's like a vampire graphic novel. It's like what I think of when I see the actual artwork. Not only in the booklet, the player HP is little actual like anatomically correct hearts, and everything suggests that the killer's got blood on his weapons and things like that. So this is kind of a mature themed game as far as if we're talking about presentation. But echoing their sentiments, yeah, I would say the board is a little minimal. I kind of would like to see more to it than this. As hopefully the video footage will show, it's basically black pegboard with little trees, and then player characters, little player pieces that move around, and that's almost it. There isn't like there isn't a pit, a spike, so there isn't like any other sort of terrain that shows up on the board. And you're right that it's like our eyes are closed. It sort of doesn't matter, but I don't know. Is that cheating in a way? But I'd kind of like to be able to say more about the game than that. But they are definitely correct. Functionally, you don't need anything more.
DLC ideas for the developers later on, like
Expansion,
new terrains or something, new environment types to, maybe they could make like a sandy dune area where like it's like rough or something, like sand or not sure how they do water or something, but
right. And there is actually an expansion in the game, and I think it's like they added vampire or something, and like we have a wraith, which I'm not even clear what the wraith is really, but
I'm trying to make sure the car isn't hiding along the edge.
yeah.
Alright.
You're disgusting.
No.
You are absolutely disgusting, sir.
It's a good thing you can't see me right now.
You're naked, aren't you? You're just. It's like I was saying, it's Ricky should be wearing sunglasses and looking for our peepees in his hand. I didn't feel where that was. Could you do that again?
Give me your finger, Ricky.
Right there.
Why does this feel like a balloon knot?
Yeah. So, okay. So that's the presentation. What do you guys think about the premise? What do you think of the idea of the game?
I love it. It's super creative. It's inclusive because not everybody can see. So those who have a physical disability like that, they can take part in a game like this if they want to get into board games. And it definitely opens up the door for that situation.
Apparently, the game was designed with that explicit purpose in mind, right? That we've heard through several sources that the designer actually had a blind friend, and so they wanted to have a game that was based on, where everyone was on equal footing and they could all play, having to use tactile senses to navigate the board, etc. So, sorry, go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, I was going to start with that. Yeah, so it's essentially what you said, it's an asymmetrical game. There's one killer and I guess up to 4 people, other people trying to escape, find the car. That's the premise of the game. You feel around the map. You get sunglasses for the other people, the people trying to escape that can't see anything. And the killer will put your finger on the spot where you're at and you can feel. And that's where the terrain comes in and you just try to find the car. I mean, it's pretty simple. The premise is a pretty cool one. Try to kind of talk about the premise without getting too far into my thoughts of the whole game, but premise is really, pretty unique. Pretty unique one. It's a good idea behind it, and
It can be sort of reliant on how the killer plays. The killer could be a jerk or something like that, and not be cooperative with it. But I mean, I don't think we've always played it and it's been perfectly fine, and everyone's just like, okay, I'll guide your hand to where your piece is, and you feel around, and it's been pretty casual and relaxed. So we've not had any issues with that. But I suppose you could have a bad killer that would ruin a game.
I will say that Cody is the farthest from the car.
I don't know what information we're supposed to get.
It says verbal taunt the player furthest from the car, but
The bare minimum of what it tells you to do.
It sounded like all Ricky was supposed to do is call me a big and then not say anything else because
Yeah.
he was just supposed to taunt me. But
some cards will say, tell one truth and tell one lie.
Is it my turn?
Okay. Yeah, it's your turn.
Alright, mother.
Take that, YouTube.
Is this me? Okay.
It's all you, baby.
Not that you want to go easy on the players because you are the killer, but maybe try to find a way or a route that will lengthen the game so that the hunted players can enjoy it.
Right. We were talking about an example, fictional example, where you could just design the tree layout so that the players had a very long way to go and they had to cross the paths with the killer before they would ever get to the car, and it would just be almost impossible.
Yeah.
So there's a part of it, it's a modular board, if the killer makes a board that's unfair, that would also be detrimental to the experience. But I mean, I think if you would genuinely want to have a good time and play a board game in a fair, challenging way, you shouldn't have that problem.
The hunted players are kind of, in that way, are at the mercy of the hunter because the hunter is one who designs the board. And so they kind of, have to hope that the hunter is nice.
Well, we just did our first playthrough of Nyctophobia. It went very quickly because Rick was trying to be, I think, easy on us as the hunter. Like, I started here, and as you see, the car is right here. And I went left once, and then other than that, everything I did, I went straight to the car.
I could have started like you guys here, and I've had the car right here by me, and you guys would have had to
Go through you to get to the car,
Yeah.
As far as the premise goes, I think it's a good one. It's really unique. I don't see you well, so it's kind of designed towards me in mind. I can still see well enough, but if you had somebody who couldn't see, it would be something that they could actually do, as opposed to other games, which unless they're just reading stuff off to you, they're not going to be able to do. They won't have any kind of concept of any of that anyway. So this would be something they could actually do. It would be something unique to do. And aside from that, even just as a regular board game player, it would be something unique. It's certainly much different than anything else in your board building, resource management. It's total left turn from all of that. Something to throw in occasionally.
I would like, by the way, to see an improvement to these glasses. For those of us that have better vision, I think these are inadequate. They are opaque. You cannot see through these at all, but there's so much surrounding peripheral vision you do get that I think this almost is like annoying. I'd almost just rather put a blindfold on and shut my eyes than use these. So
I had my eyes closed with the glasses on just because of that fact. So it's like, well, I could just play with my eyes closed without the glasses anyway.
Right.
But
it's a good guarantee that
insurance.
it's a good guarantee that we're not like looking dead ahead. I guess that like we are unable to see straight forward, but it was kind of annoying. There was so much other light coming in from the room that I couldn't focus on the invisibleness that I was supposed to be focusing on in the middle of the table. Anyway, why don't we just jump to overall thoughts? What do you think is How would you rate the game, or what do you think needs to be improved about the game in its current form?
I guess I'll go first. I would probably rate it like if I did like something out of a 10, I'd do maybe 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
Dog is belching on camera.
So
you said 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
It has so much replay, like pretty much infinite replayability almost, because you can make the board any, whatever your imagination, the limits of your imagination, and there'd be a new experience every time. There are maybe like some balancing issues or some things that aren't quite clear in the instructions that would be nice if the developers would expound upon certain things, like hiding, for example. Like, can the killer see you while you're hiding, or are they supposed to just like pretend like they can't see you?
Sprinting, is that called an action? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sprints in action.
So like, if you do that, that means you shouldn't be able to hide afterward, right?
No, because you can only take one action during your turn, so you can like
sprinting
or sprint. Nothing like that is really made clear in the instruction booklet.
The instruction booklet leaves a lot to be desired as far as elaborating on how certain mechanics work.
Luckily, though, I think they tell you enough that you can get a good game going and try to. You may have to make some house rules here or there, but overall, it's a fun game. I enjoy playing it.
Yeah, I'd say around like like a 6-ish. I mean, like, I think the
Negative Nancy over here.
In terms of like overall board game, as far as the premise goes, it's like worth having, something to switch things up, and it, even though I didn't rate it real highly, I'd like recommend it because it's something so different. But I don't think it's gonna be something that you're gonna be playing like whatever one of your more complicated, really well received board games, and then you're gonna switch over to this like every night. I mean, I think it's a little really simplistic. I mean, it feels to me like a game that's a very good premise that isn't really. It doesn't have the kind of complexity or the overall. It seems like it was a good theory, and then it just kind of was developed by somebody who didn't. It's not poorly done. It's just that if somebody maybe who knew more about. Made other board games that made some pretty good ones could probably kind of flesh it out a little bit more as.
I completely agree.
I don't think, and there's only a certain level of complexity you can add to a game like this before it would, the premise is simple, so it can't be like some one of these huge like 4-hour-long games or something. But I mean, it has the replay just because for what type of game it is. I mean, tic-tac-toe is replayable too. But it's just It is what it is, and that's kind of what this is. I like it, and it's not bad at all, and you can definitely replay it. It's good. It's just it lacks the complexity and kind of the overall
like polish
and kind of cohesion. It's good, and especially for people who can't see, or just for something to throw in that's different. It's okay. It could use a little bit more polish and a little bit more complexity.
I would like to see more killers. It comes with this kind of you guys haven't played Villainous yet, but it reminds me of that, where it comes with a wholly inadequate amount of options for killers. There should be a Freddy Krueger equivalent. There should be this is sort of, I don't know, a Jason, I guess, or there could be like 10 types of killers if they use their imagination at all, and there aren't. So I think that's disappointing. More scenarios, more hiccups for the players, like maybe a first aid spray, or think of video game this. Like, make this have more options to it, which would give it more complexity. it would make it seem more polished. It kind of reminds, I don't know if you guys remember Portal, but it kind of reminds me of that, where it was like, it had like a good idea to it, but it was just like, you could tell they hadn't Q&A'd or, play tested it extensively. And it's like, this game just needs that extra push. Like Cody said, if you gave this to, some veteran that makes their games like tact and sound from all angles, like this could have, I think, been a better product, which is what's a little frustrating about it.
I will say we have not played a scenario with the Wraith yet, which is supposed to be like way harder. It's almost like, from what I've read of the Wraith on the Wraith cards, it's almost like a complete 180 in terms of like almost impossible for the Hunted, because the Wraith can like turn the board around, or they can rearrange tree pieces, and there's just like no way you can remember or know where you are, which is the point. You're supposed to be confused.
And see, this is one.
But that's just furthers a point that there's like no balance to the game, though.
That's one of my problems with it. Like, I want to add complexity, but simultaneously, like, what I was thinking all along is like, okay, that's why there's replayability, because you can switch around. Okay, but like, at the same time, at the end of the day, when you're on the Hunted, like, there isn't really any strategy. Like, I mean, you feel around. Like, say you're here and you go, oh, okay, and you move here and you go, oh, well, there's stuff over here. Well, you kind of make a mental map, but there's no strategy. You're just trying to cover the board until you find it. I mean, there isn't really much going on.
That's a very good point.
So you can add difficulty with the killers if you want, but I mean, I don't see any way to really get like better. You're not more coordinated, or you're just kind of feeling around, and that's what it is.
That's a very good point. And we struggled with kind of, I think, all of us deciding which is the harder role to play. Is it the Hunter or the Hunted? Because if you just hide every time, the Hunter can't seek you out, although there are certain cards that let you. But then if you're the Hunter, you can see where everyone is. You're able to build a game plan of some sort, whereas the rest of them are literally walking around blind in a cave, like trying to figure out, okay, well, one of these paths leads out, and that you just have to find the right one eventually. And it's kind of just bumbling around. I would agree with Cody that it's kind of fun trying to find that way out, but at the same time, you can't do anything to plan. You can't like, if both players throw up a flare gun at the same time, they learn some information about the map that would give them some sort of way to kind of coordinate with each other, other than just I'm over here, you're over there. Let's try place number C and D. Ricky, you're dead.
Damn it.
And yeah, Cody, you were like here, I think. So you both ended up about one space from where you started.
Take it to another level, but as it is, you're just kind of fumbling around, and which again, it's still worth having. It's a good throw in, change of pace, or for somebody who can't see. But
or if you like horror, kind of. There's that tension of like the one time when we were playing and like Rick ended up right next to me, and I discovered that by feeling him there. That was a kind of a rush, like, oh, he's right there. Crap, I'm about to get killed. That sort of tension is cool, but most of the time you don't know where he is. You don't know where he's at until he's on you, and so you don't. It's not like you have a little sound, like a Jaws pacemaker that like beeps louder the closer the killer gets. You really have no idea where he is, and then he just shows up, and you can't do anything about it once he's there. So, echoing those sentiments. So, I think I would give it a 7. By the way, kind of in between Cody and Rick. What?
I was saying that kind of like not knowing where the killer is, like discovering that the killer is right next to me. That rush you get, that does fit the theme of the game pretty well. Like when you see a Friday the 13th movie or something, and they don't know that Jason's in the barn or something, and Earl Shea's right there, and
Right. That's true. That's very true. It's just it's unfortunate. It would have been nice if there could have been some build up to that tension, some suspense. Like I was trying when I was the killer, trying to let Rick know how close I was to him, which gave him that. That's the only way really to deliver that. And you don't even know if the killer's telling the truth when he does that sort of thing. It would have been nice to have some sort of sense that, like, okay, the killer just got to me. I need to be out of this area, or he's right behind me, or you don't really have any sense of it until it's kind of almost game over.
Yeah.
So that's we don't have any immediate solutions to that, but the proper game designer would, and that we would love to see that person touch this up.
Final thoughts are just that, like, I would like to include more landscapes, more environments, more killers. Incorporate sound. I mean, it's a game for blind people. Like,
It's very true.
I mean, but it would work well. You could even like, you could even. I mentioned earlier, like you could like put a little like bell or something, like a little jingly thing on the killer's thing, or some, add an app, then incorporate that in some way. Like that. I don't know. I mean, when you hit this spot, hit this button on the phone, and it makes this sound and lets them know that you have to leave this area. But I mean, there could be tons of different things between the environment, the killers, sound, different cards. Maybe the players get cards. I don't know, but as it stands, it's kind of a bare bones, good premise.
This almost seems like a proof of concept. Like someone said, "Hey, I think I could make a game like this." Like, "Oh yeah, prove it." And then they make this, and then they just sold it without really improving it and playtesting it. But yeah, as Cody was saying, it'd be nice. It'd be nice if there was like a werewolf, and then also I knew that I was being chased presently by the werewolf, like getting something on an app that said the werewolf is pursuing your trail or something like that. That would just add so much to that sense of tension. So yeah, good game. It just feels unfinished, but I think we would all recommend it as being something you should try. It's an experience that you can't really get in any other game, or really can't even really articulate exactly how this feels to play until you try it. And it's a good game. It's a good game to have as kind of a backup in case you ever have kind of an unusual set of characters that maybe you want something a little different than your resource management games or whatever.
How much did this game cost?
I want to say it was $40. So it's
I mean, it's cheaper than a lot of board games.
Yeah. So, but you also you get kind of flimsy pieces that fall out often. So, good game. Just it needs work as far as perfecting. Good premise, but it needs work as far as execution, I would say. So
that's what I would say about Rick's Love Life.
And then that'll be a hard cut.
So what happened with the whole rock? Just not moved to it?
You were standing here, you threw it here, and I was right there. It was a good strategy. It was just really bad luck that it landed at my feet, basically.
So Adrian did the Jason guarding the car scenario where
not exactly. Whenever I was playing, it's like I was usually at the edge of the map, which made it very simple as to I can only move that way. If I figure out where the corners are, then the only thing left to do is go towards the middle. Or pick a side. But if I put you guys in the middle of nowhere, you kind of have to just pick a direction at random. I figured that might make it harder for you guys to make a plan.
Go get Uncle Adrian. Go get him. Show him.
It's Bentley Magdalene.
Do it, you get it just enough over his eyes, about there. So just be yeah.
He just runs into you.
He starts running forward. He doesn't care.
You're a silly puppy, Danny. And Rick was just all over me. He got me here, and then I moved up, and
Despite hiding twice, and I just came out of hiding, and he still hit
I
me.
mean,
So 1 win, 1 loss.
Threw his rock away, so he wouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
No, but how did that work? Did you actually move towards it, or something you just ignored it?
What do you mean?
Did you move towards the noise from him throwing the rock?
Actually, I probably should. I probably cheated.
Oops.
Wow.
That's
I
fine.
tried to save the goddamn day by
No, you're right. I completely forgot about moving towards the noise.